Men of Reddit, what's the one thing you hate about being a man? Baldness. I miss having hair to run my fingers through. In my teen years, I grew it out because I knew I wouldn't have it for the rest of my life. I miss playing with it. I miss the warmth and the cooling. Short hair actually acts as cooling fins compared to being bald and sweat just pouring off. I miss the sense of it being blown in the wind. I miss the slight protection against bumps and scrapes. Cabinets are the bane of my existence. When I had a girlfriend, one of the nice things she would do would be to drape her hair over my head so I could reimagine having hair. Sometimes my penis just won't listen to me. When I go to pee and have it all lined up just for it to shoot out at a 40-degree angle. Even worse is when you get a split stream where you can't angle both of them into the bowl at the same time. Lack of emotional support. People will always think you have some hidden agenda. If you sit to pee, sometimes you will screw up and piss through the gap between the toilet seat and the bowl. If there's any one thing, it's that I never feel like I'm desired. If I don't make a move, no moves will be made. Having to kill the spider. Bitch, I'm scared too. What's something everyone should experience at least once in their life? Being in love with someone who loves you back. A loving and supportive group of humans. I have two. One is seeing a starry night sky, no clouds, no light pollution, just a beautiful night sky, or better yet, the northern lights. Second is seeing the view from a mountain peak. People always talk about how ugly the world is, but I think these two things really remind you of how beautiful Earth is too. That thing some people do of waking up and being excited for the day to come. That sounds nice. What is something that nobody hates? A good night's sleep. Clean water. The feeling of relief after taking a nice big poop. Putting on clothes that are just out of the dryer and all warm and snuggly feeling. Finding money in your coat pocket from last winter. What links have you went to keep up a lie? My brother got away with one for 15 years because he doesn't like cats. Ex-sister-in-law. I've always loved cats, but he's allergic. Mom. No, he's not. Brother. Crap. I used to sit in my car for hours a day to act like I went out. I was too scared of my parents to tell them I dropped out of college. I eventually got a job and used that as a cover until I had enough to move out. In school, I accidentally left a notebook in a class. It was a new notebook, and during that class, I'd only written one page, a rather embarrassing page. Well, I realized later I'd forgotten it, and someone was going to find it and open it to see whose it was and be met with no name, just a page of writing so bizarre that they're surely going to want to find out who wrote it. So I started faking an entire new notebook of notes and assignments using a whole made-up handwriting style. Eventually, the principal called me into her office and asked me if that notebook was mine. I told her it was not, and that doesn't look like my writing, and I showed her my other notebook for comparison. I've spent more than 8 years in the same residence. My neighbors are quite welcoming. Every time they see me go outside, they say hello, especially the wife. Every time she'll wave, say, "Hi, Rebecca," and flash a wide smile. Rebecca is not my name. At this time, it would be too awkward to fix. I simply had to take responsibility for it. My partner and I pretended to be vegetarian for 10 years to avoid her aunt's awful cooking. By the end, we were actually vegetarian. None of my family knows how I met my wife. They think I met her in California through a friend out there when I was in the military. We actually met on Tumblr. I called out of work with the excuse that my truck had died when I was on my way to work. My manager at the time said he would give me a paid day off if I brought him a receipt for the tow truck the next day. I said, okay, hung up the phone, and began to panic because my truck was sitting at home in perfect working order. I went to Office Max, bought a pack of those contractor work order pads along with some receipt paper, went home and researched average tow rates, if it's taxed, etc., forged a tow truck work order, went online, and found some fake receipt website where you just fill in the info and it makes a receipt you can print. Printed a fake receipt with a made-up company's name and my friend's name and a phone number on it, made sure the time on the receipt matched up with when I called out, made the handwriting look almost illegible on the work order, and gave my friend a heads up that someone from my employer might be calling him to verify the tow just in case. Took the customer copy of the fake tow work order, stapled the receipt to the top right corner of the paper, and folded it up to look as legitimate as humanly possible. Took a different car to work the next morning to make it seem more legitimate. Set it on my manager's desk the next morning and mentioned that I left the tow receipt on his desk when I saw him. Never heard anything about it and received the paid day off. Ended up selling the truck shortly after and mentioned that I had sold that piece of shit to my manager to cover my tracks even more. Men of Reddit, what do you love about being a man? Pissing literally anywhere I want. Toilets, sinks, bathtubs, potted plants, trees, the car that cut me off last week on 241. I don't painfully bleed every month. The low maintenance grooming. Most days I can roll out of bed, brush my teeth, and be acceptable in the workplace and public. Not having to deal with desperate men trying to pick me up at a pub or club. I don't have to give birth. Being able to carry all the groceries in one go. My wife says she'll die before she does 2 trips. A cold one with the boys and barbecues. What's the worst part of having a child? The weight gain. During the pregnancy, I gained 35 pounds. My belly has stretch marks, my boobs are all saggy, and it's not even fair because my wife only gained like 15. It's incessant, it never stops, you never get a day off. Going from having 2 days per week to relax and do whatever to literally never having a moment free from responsibility. The constant anxiety that you're doing enough to shape them to make good choices, a good life, be a good person, and for them to have the life they deserve. The days drag on, but the years fly by. You have to feed them like every day. Watching them make the same mistakes you did even though you told them not to make those mistakes. Little Jimmy, if you borrow a bunch of money, those people are going to want it back, and if they don't get it back, they'll take stuff you won't want taken. When people ask me this, I say, you know those video games where you have to escort a character to a destination without them being attacked? That's parenting. Those missions are a pain in the ass. What grossed you out so much in a relationship that you just left? Dated a girl for a while. Always seemed really well put together. Nice clothes, hair, and makeup. We usually hooked up at my place. Went to her apartment once. The smell when she opened the door should have been enough. There were dirty diapers, overflowing trash cans in every room of the house. There was a super small walkway through the mounds of dirty clothes to the bathroom, and to make it worse, there were used paper plates on top of the mountain of dirty dishes in the sink. She proudly pointed out a moldy dish and said that it was from when she cooked dinner for 2 of our mutual friends, 3 months prior. Nope, the hell out of there. I'm late to the party, but there was a guy in my social circle that I had a crazy sexual attention with. Nothing happened for the longest time. Then one day we bumped into each other in the city, had a few drinks, the tension was unbearable, and we went back to his place. And aside, I'd never had that kind of casual sex before. I'm the sort of person that needs to be in a relationship. But the chemistry with him was so intense he was an exception. So we get to his place, tearing off each other's clothes. He lies me down on the bed, pulls my panties off, and sees my vagina for the first time. Wanna know what he fucking said? He breathlessly said, "Oh my God, you look like a little girl. You're perfect." What the fuck? I didn't know what to say except wait, and sort of pushed him away from me. He was confused. I wasn't about to explain. I called a cab home and it was exceptionally awkward. She was jealous of me spending time with my sister and implied our relationship wasn't normal. I was so grossed out by the implication, dumped her the next day. Way back when I was 21, I started dating this guy, also 21. I took him to a Lollapalooza, and about 6 hours in, he had wandered off to the bathrooms and was taking a really long time to pee. He comes out 20 minutes later with this 15-year-old girl who he said just sucked his dick, and she has a cute friend, also 15, and he wanted the 4 of us to hook up. He found his own way home and never heard from me again. I went away with my ex and saw his toothbrush for the first time. It had black mold growing on it, and the bristles were so flat the toothbrush had a middle parting. I had a conversation with him about hygiene and told him to get a new toothbrush, but when I stayed at his house 2 weeks later, the cursed toothbrush was still there. So I ended it. It wasn't charcoal toothpaste. Non-American people, what's a thing that you don't understand about America? Does every worker have to file their own taxes, or am I just confused? So why do you buy politicians' merchandise? Shirts, caps, banners, stickers, etc. They're public servants, not rock stars. Also, usually the more boring they are, the better. Why everything is just so damn supersized? My first time in America, I went to get iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. I ordered a large and my friend is like, "Are you sure you want large?" Yeah, no biggie. In the UK, a large is not overwhelming, I feel, so I was expecting the same kind of thing. Oh my god, it was like a goddamn bucket of coffee. I think maybe a small would have been equivalent to a UK large. Lesson swiftly learned. The culture of just talking to people, strangers you don't know, and just up and start a conversation with them or join a conversation. I'm British, and we go through great lengths to not talk to people, let alone opening up and pouring our hearts out to a random person.